Kali Linux, where we will be considering and choosing the many attack strategies we might employ, we can first launch a target against, say, a website and then launch an attack against the FTP server into secure shell. Regardless of the situation, what we want to do is raise our privileges so that, from being a normal user, we now have root access, meaning that we can do whatever we want with the device. This can be done once we have found an exploit to employ and once we are in the correct system. The first thing we're going to do is open the terminal, and once we're on the terminal, what we want to do first is enter map so that we can start scanning the target device, server, or system. Map will be the tool we use to do this, and it will help us scan the target device. 1. When you enter map, you can see all the options that are available for us to scan the device and look for all the services. In order to begin the attack, we will be doing precisely this, thus the first thing you should do is scan every IP address, hostname, and domain name. The idea is that you now have a target in mind, so you can type the following into map, for example, and then type in 192.168.2.1, which is our IP address, as our target. This will be the target device that we're pursuing, so in this case we can enter dash as followed by V to indicate that this is for the service version that we're pursuing, and dash capital O to indicate that we want to know whether it is a Linux computer, and if so, what version of Linux it is running on, or if it is a Windows computer, what version of Windows it is running on. Then, since ports are the services that can be made available from the target device, we want to focus on those. In this case, we can target ports 1 through 65535. But first we need to enter super user mode because that requires root access. After that, we want to scan the device for all of these various services that are currently running on the server, and the scan is now complete. As you can see from the following, we have a lot of different port numbers all in order, followed by the protocol. In this case, a protocol like the transmission control protocol could be used. The state is also open, and you can see what kind of service is being used at the same time, whether it's a file transfer protocol, secure shell, HTTP, IPP, or something else entirely. So all of their services as well as the version on the far right side, so this is a really great way to quickly identify all of these various services, all of the various versions, and once we have the version we can then decide what kind of export we want to use to go after all of these various types of services so that you can have access into the system. And for today's case we will be targeting on Apache, and so you can see right here we have HTTP 2.4.7, so we'll be fine. The next thing we can do is switch over to the tool DIRB, which will enable us to search through all the directories that the server holds in order to potentially find openings that will grant us access to the server. So here, you can see the following. All of these are options that are available. You can just type the following. Alright, let's go through each example. The DIRB comes first, then the protocol, in this case, HTTP, and then the URL and the targeted directory. The only thing left to do is scroll all the way back to the top and search for any interesting results. One of those interesting results that we want to target is the one right here. This is the CGI bin, which is where we're going to target the exploits. The next thing we really want to do is determine what the exploits are. As you can see right here, we're scanning and looking out for some really interesting thing, and as you can see we're done. To find out if there are any files within it, all we have to do is enter DIRB, the IP address, /CGI-bin, and hit enter. As you can see, right here, we have the CGI bin and, of course, the hello world.sh, so this is the area for us to target. We will be relying on this CGI or for us to be able to gain entry into the system. CGI stands for Common Gateway Interface, and it is a mechanism for the web server to communicate with external content generating programs, among other things. So what we can do is use a really useful tool called Madsplice. Go ahead and type sudo msf console and press enter to launch Metasploit. In this case, what we are looking for is an exploit that we can use to target a server. To find one, just type search shellshock and press enter. Here, we have a number of options, so we'll be using one of those over here. So this is the one that we'll be targeting to use, and it will be under the heading of exploit multi-HTTP Apache mod CGI bash environment execute. Once you do that, you can see the following. Alright, so we have exploit multi-HTTP Apache mod CGI env exec. You can enter show options to specify the option as part of targeting the server. All we have to do now is take a look at the following. The reason we need a reverse shell is because the hacker wants to have exploited a vulnerability and they have sent the exploit as well as the payload. What happened is that if they try to open up a service into the system, you realize that it will get blocked. And here we have the setar host, and of course we have the ARM path, and we have the target URI you have discovered. Go ahead and hit enter on that. There is a firewall here, so it will be inspecting all of this traffic and, of course, filtering out all of these unnecessary ports that could be opened up or all of these different services that could be open as a result. This is why they might be blocked. The hacker's goal is to force a reverse connection outwards once they have exploited the system. The reason is that many of these various firewalls allow or fully permit outbound access, which means that they do not prohibit many of these various outbound connectivities to the internet. Now type exploit and enter, and you'll see this straight away. Here are the results of the second open session of Meterpreter. Once we're inside, it's game over. Once we're inside, I can enter information and instantly see the IP address, the OS, the architecture, and all of the data. Now, what we want to be able to do is be able to dump out the usernames and passwords from the computer system. What we can now do is enter shell, and once there, we can enter who am I and notice that we're on www data. Okay, let's see if we can do a cat etc shadow, and since this is where all of the important information, including usernames and data, is located, we are unable to do that. However, we can enter pwd to get to our working directory, which gives us some access to the system. In order to demonstrate how we can increase our privileges within the system, here is a pretty good example. So take a look at 2021-0903 and 37292.c. This is the example that we will use when sending and uploading to the server to increase our privileges. Okay, all we have to do is type touch followed by 37292. C, and once you've entered that, type mousepad and press enter. From there, all you have to do is copy and paste the content you see in this box to send it over to the file or save it. Closing the mousepad is the next step once you're finished. Now what we can do now is jump back over into the terminal right, and what we can do is go back into the Meterpreter, and what we can do next is to upload the file. So once we are in Interpreter, all we are going to do is enter upload alright followed by /c desktop /37292. C hit enter on that and see the following, operation fail. You may be getting this because we do not have the right permission, so if I go and enter the shell. Hence, we are in right now, so I enter pwd. We can exit from here and think about whether we can upload this file to our server, after which we can download the file from alt-right target or the current session and be able to run some other directories. So if I try to do it, say touch ABC alt-right hit enter and that cannot touch ABC permission denied, we can exit from here. All you need to do is type sudo system alt-right fold by start Apache 2. Service when you return to another terminal. To start the Apache server and host our malicious file, press enter on that and input your password. Consequently, you can go ahead and type copy 37292 into var www.html and then press enter. Now that we're done, we can host this file over and make it available for download by the intended user. So what I can do now is go ahead and say cd /tam alright. This is a directory that is accessible on almost all Linux servers so that we can write a temporary file in it. Next, I can enter shell and type http www.192.168.2.1 followed by /alright 37292. C and press enter. And we just downloaded the file, meaning that we are now able to execute on this by doing the following. Okay, so all we're going to do now is enter gcc 37292. See, and then we want to output this over to say follow OFS. Okay, so done, and next up we can do a chmod +x to make this executable. OFS done, enter /OFS hit enter. Now that we have root access and total system control, our goal is to be able to crack the username and password on the Linux server. Yes, I am aware that this is a crazy thing to do, but all I have to do is type in cat and shadow and press enter. We will then have all these different details, which you can save in a file. In this case, we can save everything into a shadow file on Kali Linux. Next, we want to enter cat etc password and press enter. Similarly, we want to save everything into a file on Kali Linux so that we can perform our password cracking. I've already saved up the file, so you can see the following. I can do a cat shadow alright and press enter. We can see exactly the same file right here.